Hello, my name is Tina Lymberis, and today I am starting something that has been on my mind, it's been living in my heart and sitting in my soul for many years, an exploration of living creatively and regeneratively. Welcome to the Regenerative Lifestyle Lab, where I weave concepts that are kind of on the edge of our current reality with personal awareness, a grounded foundation in permaculture principles, a bit of rhyming, and many questions. Speaking of questions, I have been questioning the status quo since I was a young girl. It started by watching my parents fight every day, and I remember thinking, there's got to be a better way to do relationships. And this thought extended to pretty much everything I was seeing in front of me. There has got to be a better way to earn an income. There's got to be a better way to have fun, to learn, to do life in general. I was seeing everyone following everyone else and I couldn't stomach it. It looked so freaking boring. Everyone seemed to be living a fragment of what's possible, a fragment of their potential, a fragment of who they truly are, a fraction of their truth. I became obsessed with exploring ways to shift from what I seem to see as conventional and outdated perspectives to what I like to call inventional perspectives. I always wanted to live life as an art and for the earth do my part. Permaculture gave me a vehicle through which I could move myself and inspire others to explore ways in which we can take response-ability to regenerate ourselves and our environment, and share these perspectives which infuse our lives with more meaning, creativity, and fun. You might have noticed that I said response-ability instead of responsibility. Why would I do that? Because when we break up that word, it shows that we have the ability to respond. And not only respond, but respond truthfully. My current understanding is that when we take responsibility and when we're truthful with ourselves, we're able to create a new reality. How did I come to that conclusion? Truth and responsibility. And what's truth got to do with it? In 2018, I was pondering the question of how we can shift perspectives. And I was running a blog at that time, of which the tagline in Greek was "Δες το αλλιώς," which means look at it differently, like shift your perspective. Actually, I think it was change your view in English. So this whole concept of shifting perspectives has been key to my understanding and way of seeing life. Like I've always been seeing things differently to other people. And it was never enough for me. Like I was always looking at new ways of how can I shift perspectives. And I found a specific type of therapy at that time called theta healing, which is all about changing the synapses in our brain so that we can see things differently. In my enthusiasm and trying to get people to see things differently, I would always be suggesting therapy, but not everybody was prepared to do therapy. They weren't interested in it. So I was really looking for something that was a lot easier or something a lot more practical, something that people could do every day. And as I was pondering that question, I found myself attending a live speech by Greece's famous astrophysicist called Manos Danesis. He spent 3 hours talking about his perspective on humanity. He was detailing a different version of mainstream history. He deconstructed everything. And he concluded with this statement: the only way to change our reality is to change our perspective. And he opened the floor to questions. And I'm like, here's my chance to ask my question. And like a good student, I put my hand up. I was waving it in the air so I could grab his attention, and he picked me. By the time he picked me, I had rehearsed the question about 10 times. And with a bit of nervousness, I asked, I agree that the only way to change our reality is to change our perspective. But what is something that everyone can do on a daily basis to help us shift our perspective? He literally pierced me with his eyes and told me I must stop with the lies. Only if we learn to speak our truth like free people without fear will we be able to change our course and arrive at a new frontier. And he pointed at me. Can you speak your truth without fear? The question was rhetorical, but the answer came up inside me immediately. Every cell in my body received his message loud and clear, and every cell in my body knew that I was not telling my truth. Not that I was consciously lying to anyone. I was just too scared to express big truths. Truths about what I truly wanted, how I wanted to be living, how I saw the world. And I was too scared to speak up about it because I had been shut down so many times and rejected for being too loud, too energetic, too enthusiastic, too me. And that's when I realized that I had been living in fear and not expressing my full truth. For little things, I was super honest, like what I feel like eating or where I feel like going. But for the big things, especially when my decision involved someone else or more than one other person, I would be too scared to express my truth for fear of hurting the others, for fear of being the different person, the black sheep again. And honestly, the only thing I achieved was hurting myself. Also, somewhere along my journey, I read this statement. I always thought that somebody would do something about that, and then I realized I am that somebody. That message resonated with me so much that a new perspective started forming inside me around the junction of truth and responsibility. We have the ability to respond with our truth, and that is our only responsibility to ourselves. It is our only responsibility to each other. And that somehow to me is the key to regenerating our reality. And because I love taglines, my personal mantra became, if you see the possibility, it's your responsibility. The possibility of what, I hear you ask? The possibility to take off your mask and bask in the glory of a real task. And what's a real task, I hear you ask? To respond to the call inside your soul. Break the mold of what you've been told. Be bold. Tell a story that's untold. Allow life to unfold. If you see the possibility, it's your responsibility. Yes, but what does this mean in practical terms? An example is to express your concerns. Express what you're feeling. Express what you're seeing. Express what you're hearing. Express what you believe in. Dance it, rap it, sing it, draw it, write it, speak it, cook it, own it. Expression could take any form. There is really no norm. So if you have a vision that's beyond television that only you, for now, can see, then it's your responsibility to bring that possibility into reality. Don't let anyone or anything get in your way. Who am I anyway to judge? We're all equal in this cosmic sludge. You are me and I am you. We're all reflecting each other's view. So now we're here and we're here to say it's our time to do it our way. It's our time to do it our way. If you see the possibility, it's your responsibility. If you see the possibility, it's your responsibility. Yeah! I feel like I should applaud myself because that's what people do when they hear this poem. They get really excited and pumped and energized and motivated. And I feel like this is part of the reason that I'm here, and I have a feeling that if we are the ones seeing a certain possibility, then it's our responsibility to do something about it. I am that somebody who is meant to do something about it, just by the mere fact that I'm seeing it, that possibility, right? Why else would that possibility keep knocking on my door? When permaculture came into my life, I was wide open to the possibilities it offered me. Like it was something that I just knew I had to find out more about. And I went with it. And not only have I managed to spread permaculture in Greece or be one of the people who was like really key in spreading this movement, and I translated a permaculture book into Greek, a massive one. It was a 2-year project. I also managed to express permaculture through art, through a musical theatrical called Compostopia, through interactive workshops that fuse personal awareness, permaculture, and artistic expression. And I love my life this way. I love that I have the freedom to do what I want when I want. And that's the possibility that I see. I do see the possibility of a world where we are living in harmony with nature and we're free to do what we love. In other words, I would love to live in a world where we're living life as an art, and for the earth we are doing our part. What does living life as an art really mean? Does it mean to do art? Maybe, maybe not. What does it mean to do our part for the earth? Why is the responsibility on the individual when it's clearly a systemic problem? Is recycling going to save the world? We know that it's not going to cut it, and it's not going to solve our world's issues. But what is going to solve our world's issues? Could the solution be surprisingly simple? Do we need to be focusing on the entire world? Or do we need to be focusing on our world, our ecosystem, our bioregion? And this is something that I invite you to find out with me. Let's find this out together. My starting point is the concept of regeneration, purposely, and that's why I call this the Regenerative Lifestyle Lab. And I purposely use the term regeneration instead of the term sustainable, mainly because there are more words that rhyme with regeneration. For example, welcome to Tina's Regeneration Station. Okay, just kidding. You've got to be able to laugh with yourself and have fun, right? Because that's also a key to regeneration. I stopped using the word sustainable because sustainable means to sustain things where they are right now. And I don't want to sustain things. I want to evolve things. I want to regenerate things. Can you feel the power in that word? Regeneration. Regeneration in simple terms means putting more energy into an ecosystem than you take from it. So this results in the ecosystem having enough energy not only to regenerate itself, but to produce extra energy, to produce a surplus of energy. When you have a surplus, you're able to share it. You're able to do more things. Let me put this in simple terms. When we care for ourselves, we are regenerating ourselves because we are replenishing our energy. And when we have extra energy, we can share it with others in the form of knowledge, skills, a helping hand, or whatever the situation calls for. But when we're tired, we can't do anything when we're depleted. So when we do that, when we share our surplus, we are regenerating ourselves at the same time as regenerating whoever we're impacting. So that's why I think the concept of regeneration is so crucial to understand, because it's key to surviving and thriving. Through this podcast, we'll talk more about practical examples of regenerative behavior and how to incorporate it into your life so that you can regenerate yourself, your personal life, your social life, your work life, your community, and the earth. And it's an experiment. That's why I call it the Regenerative Lifestyle Lab, because if it's an experiment, you can't fail. There are only lessons to be learned and only fun to be had. As I said before, fun is key to regeneration because it gives us energy. If it's fun, it's regenerative. If it's regenerative, it's fun. And it goes on and on and on. And the beat goes on and on and on. My intention, apart from expressing my somewhat unconventional perspectives and my rhymes, is to open the space for people with a vision of a regenerative future. People who want to create a lifestyle which regenerates them, the people, and the environment around them. People who are already doing it, or people who are wondering where to start and have a whole stream of questions about how we can do things better. And since we weren't taught any of this important stuff at school, we've got to talk about it together. So if we sense or see a better way, it's our responsibility to do something about it and to figure it out, right? So let's figure it out together. I'm not claiming to have all the answers, but I am claiming my ability to co-create a space where magic happens. And that's another rhyme, but not for this time. Because when we talk about different possibilities and we start thinking differently, then our behaviors change. And when our behaviors change, in other words, we're doing things differently, then we get out of this insanity loop. You know that the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So how are we going to change things? We've got to change our perspective. And once we change our perspective, then our behavior changes. And when we get out of this insanity loop that we're living in at the moment, we start creating a new field where this new reality, a regenerative reality, is possible. So every time we actually break the patterns of what our predecessors were doing, how they were doing it, the thinking patterns, everything like that. We start doing things differently. We start creating this new reality, this field, this energetic field, like this collective consciousness. I don't know what else to call it, where this is possible. So it's no wonder that the next generation coming in will find it easier to do things differently and start changing things. We are responsible for planting the seed of this new reality. We might not see all the changes in our lifetime, but we are starting the change just by doing things differently and thinking things differently. So then the next generation comes in and it's like, oh yeah, this is the way it's always been. Yeah, little do they know, right? So if you want to go on an adventure of discovering how to design a regenerative lifestyle, which feeds your soul, nourishes the earth, and gets you creatively co-creating with your community, join me on this podcast journey. You may be especially interested in sticking around for future episodes and participating in my courses if you are entertaining the thought of moving to the countryside. You might be thinking, okay, well, I want to move to the countryside. It sounds really great, but what can it look like? What are the possibilities there? And as someone who's done this my whole life, this is something that I can honestly say I can really shed some light on the situation and open your hearts, minds, and souls to new fields of possibilities. So subscribe to our vibe, come along for the ride, and get ready to thrive. Welcome, you're in the right place. And as we come to a close, I invite you to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Now repeat. I am powerful. I am loved. I am necessary. Now open your eyes and start seeing more regenerative possibilities. I'd love to hear them, especially if they rhyme.